So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homies Julia and Alex. You both absolutely killed it on there, and we look forward to having you on again down the road. So now for episode 88 of Eazy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. Episode crazy 88. I love it. It's going to be a laid-back episode talking about something we both love. And without further ado, Eric, tell the people what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Easy going episode tonight. We're going to be doing we pretty much do one episode at least per year on this topic, which is the NHL. And we normally tend to dive in at the end of the season or at the start of the season. So it's an interesting point that we're going into today in our NHL playoff push version of our NHL coverage that we do on the podcast, in that at the time of recording, the third round of the NHL playoffs is about to begin literally tonight. So we have 4 teams left: Colorado, Edmonton in the West, and Tampa Bay and New York, the New York Rangers in the East, about to square off in what's been an extremely exciting playoff run, in my opinion. I've had a ton of fun watching these games, and I think we could dive into the 4 remaining teams right away. Matt, who are you liking at this point to take it all with out of these 4 teams that are remaining?
Oh, it's going to be like a cliche, easy answer, but I'm liking Tampa Bay, just based on the strength of their goaltending and the fact that they've done it the last 2 years. So picking Tampa for the three-peat. Before I elaborate, before I go on, like, Eric, what team are you liking for the Cup?
Yeah, it's crazy because actually today and yesterday I went back and listened to most of our NHL episodes that we've done just to see like how right we were on some takes, wrong on others. And we picked Tampa to again potentially repeat for a third time, and we didn't even consider it to be that crazy at the time, when really like it was a pretty crazy statement to make that Tampa could win it again. Like, it's hard enough to win twice in a row, let alone 3 times. And I think they're a lock to make the finals. Like, I don't see New York beating Tampa at this point, and I think Colorado would have the best chance of taking taking Tampa down. I think it's Tampa again, to be honest. I'm not rooting for them to win for a third time. I have been rooting for them throughout the playoffs against the Maple Leafs, which we'll get into later, I'm sure. But now, like, I don't really want them to win again. I'm going for whoever comes out of the West, to be honest, to win. Whether that be Edmonton or Colorado, like, that's who I want to see win the Cup. But Tampa is just above everyone else. And the way Vasilevsky's played after he struggled at the start of the Toronto series, now he's dialed it in, locked in at the right time. It's scary how good this team is. And they're doing it all without Braden Point, too, which makes it even crazier.
That's a good thing to highlight, too, missing one of their best players. I, too, like, my heart wants Edmonton or Colorado to win the Cup, but my brain is telling me Tampa. I'd love to see, honestly, I'd pick my number 1 choice is, like, to see McKinnon hoist that Cup. Like, it'd be so glorious to see. And, like, McDavid's going to have his time, but it's, like, McKinnon first. Yeah. And Colorado's, like, so a little background, this is the first year I've been watching, like, I've never watched more playoffs than this year. Like, I've just been loving it. Maybe it's the fact that I've been watching more that this is my favorite playoff year in a long time. But, like, other than last night's Game 7 Carolina New York Rangers game, like, the games have been close and exciting. Well, like, a couple series notwithstanding, but back to Tampa Bay. Like, you know, when we hear our dads and our uncles talk about, like, the dynasties of the Oilers, the New York Islanders, Montreal, like we're witnessing one right now, in my opinion, and it's exciting to, like, witness history as it's happening, hockey history. And I don't know, do you get that, like, cool, like, this, like, you're gonna have future nostalgia on this moment, Eric, type of vibe? And are you getting, like, witnessing something great here?
I 100% agree with that assessment, because those are like the big 2 are like the Oilers and the Islanders when they won 4 in a row in the 80s, and like this is our equivalent of those runs that our fathers saw before, right? And It is cool to see, like, in the last 2 years I cheered for Tampa. Like, I wanted them to repeat again. I've made my feelings clear that I would not cheer for Montreal in the finals, and I was going for Tampa. I was pumped for them. And at the end of the day, if they do win for a third time in a row, I will be happy for them. That's just not really who I over like you said, a McKinnon, a McDavid. And funnily enough, I was actually going to bring this up, Matt. When we did our episode in the fall with Justin, shout out Justin, you said that you wanted McKinnon to win over McDavid because we were talking about like who's the next guy up that you want to see win. And I guess your feelings are still there. Your allegiance is still towards McKinnon over McDavid at this point in the upcoming series.
Absolutely. And to keep it on Tampa Bay, the first round against Toronto, that was an amazing series. It was so fun to watch those games and hear the Leaf tears, hear everyone complain at work the next day every time they lost. But Tampa Bay, that was their biggest hurdle, and I think round one will be their toughest. They have already surpassed their toughest opponent, in my opinion, I guess is what I'm saying. It's gonna be easier for them as they go on. It's like a giant locomotive engine that it's hard to start going, it's hard to get going, and then now it's just flying down the railroad, full speed ahead, and nothing can stop them. Not an avalanche or oil spill or a ranger.
Yeah, those things couldn't stop the Hogwarts Express, and that's what Tampa Bay is looking like right now. No, yes. I 100% agree that, it's crazy that Toronto gave them their biggest test so far. And I do think Toronto, it's crazy how close they were in this year. The Leaf fans weren't as mad that they lost to Toronto to Tampa in the way they did because they gave it their all. The stars showed up, but it still wasn't enough to take down Tampa. And I do feel for Toronto, honestly, this year. Even though I wasn't cheering for them, I was you should have seen me cheering against Toronto this year. It was pay-per-view worthy. But and it took a lot of my energy out for cheering for future games. But they gave it their all. The stars showed up, and I think Toronto would have beaten most teams in the East, to be honest. They just drew the toughest matchup possible. And even with home ice in Game 7, it wasn't enough. And Tampa is that well-oiled machine that even, like we already said, without point, they can still get these games. They can get teams to play the way they want them to play, and their decor, which we talked about in previous episodes, is unbelievable. McDonough turns into an absolute horse in the playoffs. Hedman is Hedman. He's unbelievable. He doesn't even look like he's trying that hard out there. Similarly to a Kucherov, who can be frustrating, but at the end of the day, the guy's an absolute wizard, a young Voldemort out there on the ice, if you will, to keep up with the Harry Potter references. All-world skill. Love seeing Stamkos kill it and be a part of this run as well. He wasn't a part of their first cup, so it's nice to see him really engaged this one. And Nick Paul, was ecstatic for him. His big game against the Leafs to ice them was unreal. I don't know. Go ahead, Matt.
And if Kucherov is a young Voldemort, you said, well, freaking Vasilevsky is Dumbledore because he's just nothing can get past him.
Nice.
But back to the Toronto. I know a lot of listeners. Some listeners are diehard Leaf fans. Cough, cough, Justin. But if you're the Toronto GM, Eric, what do you need differently to surpass to get further? What was it, Campbell? What are your thoughts on that?
I know, and that's such a tough question because, in my opinion, this was the best Leaf team we've ever seen in the 6 years that Matthews and Marner have been on that team, right? Mm-hmm. The thing to me that was the big factor was that, and Leaf fans kind of blamed this on their demise last year, was the absence of a John Tavares due to injury. Well, was there an injury this year? Because I didn't notice him at all out there. And other than being a glorified centerman, winning faceoffs at a tremendous rate, getting paid $11 million, you got to be doing way more than that to contribute to your salaries, buck. And for me, he was a non-factor. And he might have had one good game, honestly, but you need way more out of that guy to be able to move on to the second round, which has been their bane the last 3 years especially. I don't know what you do. Honestly, Campbell, in my opinion, outplayed Vasilevsky for the majority of that series. Vasilevsky was incredible the last few games, and since then has been on a run, Dumbledore. But Campbell, you cannot fault Campbell, in my opinion, for the loss. And I don't really know where you can really pinpoint an identifiable weakness that it was there that they went wrong. I singled out Tavares. That would be my answer, but you can't do anything with that. He's an unmovable object due to his contract. What I would do Sorry, if I was
No, you
Toronto,
go ahead.
I would trade Nylander for two pieces that are the equivalent value of his contract, which isn't that much. Like Nylander for a $7 million cap hit is great, but I think if you can get his contract's value split to two like really solid pieces and spread out the wealth in your lineup, you're maybe better off. And guys who are made to play playoff hockey, which Nylander has proven that he doesn't always step up when it matters most, especially physically. Like he shies away from it. So that'd be my take initially.
I love what you said. Like pound for pound, Tampa was a better team. Like, and I agree. Like the Campbell Vasilevsky thing, 100%, Eric. And like the game 7, Tampa Bay won like 2-1 or.
Yep.
I think Nick Paul had 2 goals in that game.
Yep.
Grinder for Tampa, and like maybe Tampa's grinders were just much better than Toronto's grinders, because that's what wins you the series at the end of the day. Everyone's got a good first line. So like I'm happy to see like ex-Senators players like Nick Paul shine with Tampa Bay. Like I was
Same.
pumped for him, and I'd love to see him hoist a cup. I mean, so maybe Toronto has to look at getting like more quality second tier players, and that's what you said. Like get rid of Nylander, get two players that are equivalent to him.
Exactly.
You know, people like players like Connor Brown, or I mean, just watch the play every game every night. There's players like that on every team that we don't know their names, but they're like amazing.
100%.
Focusing to shifting to the West a little, Calgary, Edmonton, or Calgary in general. I think I was expecting them to go way further, Eric. I don't know about you. Just looking at their lineup, and the way like Goudreau finished the year, and all their players. Lindholm, like, is Lindholm one of my fantasy keepers now? I don't know. Probably.
True, yeah, he had a killer year.
He killed it.
Yeah.
So I think Calgary, on like Markstrom, total disappointment. Like I watched that last series against Edmonton, and I was appalled by the goaltending. And I also want to talk about the Oilers goaltending too.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on Calgary?
Well, funnily that you mentioned keepers. Now, I'm sure your dad might think twice about keeping Markstrom in our pool based on his playoff performance, which left something to be desired. I agree. And actually had that written down as like biggest surprise of the postseason was Calgary for me. I honestly expected Dallas to be a bit more of a test than people gave them credit for, but I didn't expect it to go to 100%. And then I expected them to win against Edmonton. Like, there's no other way to put it. I was sure, especially based on how the first game in that series went, the 9-6 shootout.
Yeah.
I was sure Calgary was taking it. They're the heavy favorite on paper. And like you said, we're going to get into Edmonton later. Their stars, I think, maybe not disappeared, but didn't step up in the way that Edmonton's stars did. And I'm looking at kind of a Matt Tkachuk in that he's someone you really want to play that playoff hockey style game, and he should. And he kind of got caught up in that getting tangled up with Kane, and he ran his mouth a little too much, in my opinion. Like, he should have let his play do the talking instead. But maybe Matt Tkachuk just can't help it. Like, he thrives in there. But I think that was his downfall. Lindholm... And to be fair, the games were really late, so I didn't get to catch that many of the Edmonton-Calgary games, unfortunately. But of what I saw, Calgary's effort was uninspiring. And I'm interested to see what they do in the offseason. Like, they need to re-sign Gaudreau, who's a UFA. Is he going to come back? He's going to be expensive. And then they're going to need to pay Matt Tkachuk big time, like a minimum of $9 million, because that's his qualifying offer. Like, to keep him, they need to give him at least $9 million.
Oh, absolutely.
And Mangiapane also needs a new contract. So it's going to be a different looking team. I still believe in that core, though, if they can keep them all. Like, I do like Calgary, but surprising for sure. Like, probably the biggest surprise of the playoffs for me.
Yeah, I am super curious about the Matt Tkachuk signing, or if he's going to change teams. Like, that's like a point of interest for me.
Yeah.
Edmonton, though, like, I also, Eric, like, I have to get up early in the morning. I can't watch all the Western games, but watching all the highlights, oh my hell, like McDavid. Let's talk about McDavid. Unreal. Like, I'm speechless right now. Just the things he does. Like, it's not that he's fast. He's fast with the, like, him and McKinnon with the puck. They're like ultra human fast. It's crazy. And McKinnon probably has the goal of the playoffs, right? Like, would you say so?
Yeah. 100%. That was an amazing goal. And too bad that they lost that game, but
Yeah.
Get into that later as well, but man, yeah.
I just want to highlight like the when we're gonna talk to like the future generations of the stars of our time, like the McKinnons, the McDavids, like we're witnessing like why they're so great right now, and it's beautiful to watch. Like I know that's just how my dad talks about like Bobby Orr and Guy Lafleur, Wayne Gretzky, Mike Bossy, all the greats. But we're seeing our greats right now, and it's beautiful to watch, and I don't want to miss it. Like my movie watching has gone downhill, but like I'm watching all these sports every night, and I can't miss this chance to see like the best hockey at the highest level.
Same thing for me. Now all the games have an 8 p.m. Eastern Standard start time for both series, so I'm gonna try to watch like every game I can now. Like tonight, Colorado, Edmonton, I'm gonna try to watch that whole game. Hopefully it doesn't go to like double overtime there, but we'll see how it goes. But no, McDavid, man, is really putting the debate to rest about who's the best player in the league. Like, not that there really was a debate, to be honest. People try to spark like that conversation, and the people who kept arguing like, "Oh, Matthews is better than McDavid," like, no, just stop. This shouldn't even be a conversation that we're having right now. Like McDavid is making that abundantly clear. He's a league above everyone else. I can't wait to see him go toe to toe with McKinnon. McKinnon's kind of trying to downplay that storyline, which I don't believe for a second that he really thinks like, oh, it's not a storyline. It's no, like he wants to prove that he's better than McDavid, because that's a conversation people were having for the last few years as well, as McKinnon or McDavid. Some people said McKinnon was the best in the world. Well, here's a chance to prove it. And I can't wait to see those two go toe to toe. And then like deeper down the line, like obviously not that deep down, like Draisaitl, Makar, Landeskog, Rantanen, Evander Kane, what he's doing for Edmonton has been unreal. It's going to be a fun series. And watching McDavid celebrate that series-winning goal, I had the biggest smile on my face. I was so happy for him when they knocked out Calgary. Like, you just know how much that meant for him. He's never been to the Western Conference Finals. I didn't think Edmonton would go this far. Like, when the season started, my preseason prediction, I think I said, like, Edmonton's going to maybe make the playoffs because the division's weak, but I don't see them doing any damage. And I truly believed that. And still in the playoffs, I wasn't sure. But now, like, I'm all in. I think this team can go as far as McDavid and Draisaitl carry them. They have a shot at beating Colorado, honestly. Like, I don't want to bet against McDavid right now, and that's who I'm cheering for in that series, personally. Like, let's go, McDavid.
Yeah, and just for the McKinnon-McDavid talk, like, I personally like McKinnon's style of play more. I find he's more like he'll shoot more often than McDavid. At least that's what I observed. I don't watch every game, but like I think I like watching McKinnon. No, not I think. I do like watching McKinnon more than McDavid, because McKinnon's more like that killer, like sniper, like gonna be shooting the puck.
No.
McDavid just is like, if like Kucherov is a wizard, McDavid is like the person who invented magic or whatever. Like he's above all else. He's the force, to Kucherov's Darth Vader. I don't know about that analogy, but
it still works. Flies.
For Edmonton, Mike Smith, like that's. I don't think Edmonton's winning anything with Mike Smith. I'm sorry. I watched some highlights and I'm like, how the hell did he stop the puck? Great job. But then I watched something else and I'm like, oh my god, I'm reminded that Mike Smith is Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Which is a bumbling like clowns in the net most of the time. But then again, Colorado doesn't have like a star in net, right? So are we gonna get a shootout tonight? Are we gonna get like just extremely grindy, like not a lot of chances? I don't know. Whoever stays out of the box, right? Like ask the Carolina last night. The going into the box cost them that game in the first like 10 minutes. So you can't take those penalties. A too many men penalty last night in that game killed them.
Hate to see. Go ahead.
Yeah, you hate to see.
No, I was gonna say I hate to see my guys Aho and Svechnikov go out like that, but one of them is getting the drop in fantasy. Can't say who at this point, so I'm gonna mull over options. But so to your point though about Mike Smith and comparing him to Kemper as well, I don't believe in either of them, to be honest. More than that, I agree with you. Mike Smith is definitely not your typical championship winning goaltender, but he's come up more clutch, I would say, than Kemper, and again, I haven't seen all the games, so I can't fully take my word. And Smith also gave up a terrible goal against Calgary from their own zone. The friggin' clearing attempt by Rasmus Andersson that went in, I couldn't believe that. And thankfully they won that game, but that could have been a series turner. Like, that goal specifically could have been a TSN turning point in the series. But he's made some kind of clutch saves, I'll say. But Kemper, from what I've seen, I have no faith in him. Like, I think that could be a weakness that Edmonton should exploit. Obviously, you're trying to score goals on a goaltender. Obviously, you're going to try to exploit that. But the game against St. Louis, where he was like completely out of his net, and then Josh Manson made a save on, I think it was Buchnevich. That could have been the game right there. Had that goal went in, like, that's a terrible goal to give up by Kemper. But thankfully, Manson played goaltender for his goalie, and then Colorado was able to win that game. But I don't know, I'm not a fan of Kemper, and I would say goaltending is kind of a wash in this series, so it'll be up to the forwards and the defensemen to keep pucks out and put pucks into the opposing team's nets. It's not going to be a huge goaltending matchup, whereas the other series is way more like Shesterkin versus Vasilevsky's. That's your big storyline. That's not the case here. Could be a shootout tonight.
The Eastern will be like a chess match, and the Western will be like an all-out assault, and whoever stays out of whoever has the most power plays will probably win.
Yeah.
And you made a good point on like Colorado's always like, it seems like a goal away from like just like a bad goal away from losing, or like St. Louis, that was a tough hurdle too. Speaking of like hurdles, like St. Louis has a good team. I lost my train of thought. Okay, well, the New York Tampa Bay series. Okay, talking about the Rangers here. Yeah. I honestly, I love watching the Rangers play. They're really fun to watch. Fox. Okay, let's talk about Fox. Adam Fox for a second. I only knew of him because I think your bro was like killing it in fantasy pool with him. First of all, not I think he was. Congrats to Andy, by the way, for winning that.
Yeah, big dub, Andy. Let's go, holding it down.
She kicks ass every year in that pool. But wow, is he fun? Am I having fun watching him play? Super exciting. I love watching this young Rangers team play. I didn't know they're exciting. They're going to be good. They're going to be good for many years to come. Zibanejad's finally woken up. You know, he finally picked hockey over music and DJing, so now he's like completely focused on hockey. No, it's fun to the Rangers are fun. I don't know about you, Eric, but what are your thoughts on these new young Rangers?
So speaking of Andy and the Rangers, that was actually her preseason call for who was going to win the Cup. Wow. So I don't want to jinx her here, but top 4 finish, it's looked like it could happen. So that's a huge call going into the season. A crazy call. We should have put some money on that. Maybe next year I'll ask her who she's feeling, and anyway, it's not done yet, but it's a pretty crazy call. And New York is a super fun team to watch. And like I was just talking about the Carolina guys that I have in fantasy, I really lost interest in Carolina and didn't want them to win, to be honest, because the Rangers have been way more fun to watch, and that's what you want in the playoffs is fun hockey. And Carolina was getting smoked by Tampa, so it didn't even matter. You'd rather see New York, in my opinion, has a better shot of beating Tampa. I don't think they will, but they could. They 100% could. They're built more for the playoffs than Carolina is. And for me, another thing I had written down as biggest surprise of the postseason has been Lafreniere. He's been unbelievable to watch. He hasn't been wowing you with insane skill and incredible goals like McKinnon style, but he's been playing a hard-nosed playoff style game. And I think going into next season, he's going to be a force to watch. And people who are calling him a bust after one season is so ridiculous. That line with him and Capo Caco and Philip Hedl, the kid line as they're called, has been super fun. Shesterkin's been amazing. DJ Zibat, I'm super happy for his success too. Chris Kreider, 50-goal man, out of nowhere, just killing it. And Panarin is fun. And Adam Fox, last but not least, we got to go see him. We watched a Sens versus Rangers game early in the season. Zach and I went to watch, and obviously Zach has vested interest in him because of fantasy. Every single time he was out there with the puck, puck on a string, little half toe drag, chipping the puck under or over a stick, little pass you'd never even think of making in a million years. Even in my beer league, I'd never attempt something like that. And he just pulls it off so easily that it's just a treat to watch. And they're gonna be a good team for a really long time. Their rebuild got accelerated with Fox, Shesterkin, and then winning the lottery with Lafreniere and Kakko. They jumped up both times. So and signing Panarin. So no, they're a fun team. I'm not cheering for them though. It's weird. I don't want Tampa to win the cup, but I'm also like, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I do want. It'd be cool if Andy was right too that New York wins the cup. But like I said, I'm going for the teams in the West, so it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah, I wouldn't hate if the Rangers won, but like Kreider, another potential keeper for me. Like he scored over 50 goals, I believe 51 maybe.
Yeah, true.
Crazy. And Jacob Trouba, like guy's a menace on the ice. Like you got to be aware when he's on the ice. I love watching him play. He freaking knocked out a Carolina player last night.
I actually hate Trouba. Just say
you
not a fan of Trouba. Like
but would you want him on your team?
For sure. He's good at what he does. I feel like some of his hits have been kind of questionable in the playoffs, but it's prison rules out there in the playoffs, and he's the kind of guy who helps you get far and case in point. So
yeah, okay, that's fair, but like it's fun to watch, and I had vested interest in the Pittsburgh Rangers series because my girlfriend's a diehard Penguins fan, and like I was watching every game and getting secondhand like. She was getting really like into it and pissed off when that was a fun series to watch basically. So, and I don't know, I think Pittsburgh's like on their like the last breath of like their heyday here. All the guys are getting older, but they still had some juice in them some games, and it was fun to watch. But like you're on your second and third goalie, you're like, okay, you're not beating Shesterkin with those guys.
And I'm sure she's not too crazy about Trouba either. After that hit that took out Crosby of the series and swinged the series in the Rangers' favor, like if that doesn't happen, Pittsburgh is winning. It's a certainty.
Right? Yeah.
That's another what if, but anyways, pretty crazy.
I love swings like that, like little moments like that change, like what if, basically. Yeah. Like what if Jari was playing? What if, anyways, other notable series. I really liked watching the Washington. I thought Washington had this.
Yeah.
Just on the strength of like a veteran team versus Florida, who's not like Florida showed their true colors in the second round when they got completely out. I didn't watch a lot of those games there, but like Florida just no show, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because Florida against Washington, I found most of the games Florida did deserve to win in my opinion. Like they're pressing and controlling the play a lot more than Washington, but Washington just was getting good goaltending and ended up getting like a really clutch goal late and then would go up and shut it down. But they played a little too tentative, I found, later in the series too, and were just trying to hold on to leads. And then when Florida finally broke through, it was like, all right, floodgates are open, let's go, let's keep it running. And they would end up getting a few goals and win the games that, in my opinion, they deserve to win. But then, it was a completely different team against Tampa. Like, they were not a threat whatsoever to Tampa. It was a sweep. I was thinking, did they win a game? Like, no, they got destroyed. No, and I do think that if Toronto had beaten Tampa, maybe it wouldn't have been a sweep, but they for sure would have beaten Florida if they played the way they did. And then that begs the question, was Florida playing so poorly because Vasilevsky was in their heads that they were still getting quite a few shots on net and just nothing was going through? I want to say he allowed like 5 goals that whole series or something nuts. He was just on another level, and if they win the cup again, he's going to win the Conn Smythe, I think, no doubt. Kuch might get the points, but he's not as valuable as Vasilevsky has proven to be for that team. Florida is definitely disappointing though. Like they're my biggest, them and Calgary, biggest disappointments and biggest surprises in the playoffs. I had Florida going in the finals against Colorado, which was a terrible call. Like it never happens that the number 1 seeds in both conferences end up in the finals there. But
what are your thoughts, Eric, on the immense amount of rest that the Lightning's getting? Is it too much or not enough?
That's the thing. Rest, as Guy Boucher prominently said, is usually a weapon, but it can also be your downfall. And that teams that sweep, it often happens that they get swept afterwards. Like Colorado swept Nashville. They obviously still won their second round, but St. Louis seemed to have more bite in their game than Colorado at times. They still end up winning though, so that argument is null. But I think that Tampa is still the favorite against New York. New York should be tired. Shesterkin has found his game though, so that should give New York some confidence. I don't know. It's weird because Tampa had just come off a long 7-game series against Toronto to then swing to a sweep. So is that going to be the same thing for New York, who just had a 7-game series against Carolina with a lot of swings where they never win a home game or they never win a road game, then they win at home, and it was a weird series. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think the rest is going to help Tampa a lot, and like they're just going to need like 10 minutes in the first period to like remember, like get back in the zone, and then they're going to be fine because they're a veteran team. They've been there before, so it's going to help them. I just keep remembering the Sens, like in 2007, they beat Buffalo pretty quickly in the third round, I believe, and then facing the Ducks, I think they had a lot of rest too, if I remember right, and yeah, let's
short 5-game
Why
series.
do I have to remind myself? Yeah, exactly.
We were having a good time, just not stressing over those days, but no, that wound is still somewhat fresh.
Till the day I die, I will never forget what I was doing. Like, what I was in high. I remember exactly everything about that series, Eric. It's crazy. I'll never forget it. Never. Ugh.
Yeah, no, those are the glory days for sure for us Sens fans, and we're gonna get back to that for sure, and we can definitely get into some Sens stuff.
Yeah. The like outlook of next year.
Were there any other series that you wanted to go over that have passed, or?
No, I mean, like, Boston, Carolina didn't really. Like, that was a homer. Like, Carolina's only winning at home. And players like Svechnikov, huge disappointment. What did he have? Like, how many points did he have in the playoffs? Like,
I don't know. I think he had one goal against the Rangers, maybe. Maybe he had a few others in that Boston series. But no, Carolina, again, another disappointment probably. But a lot of people didn't peg them. They pegged them as, like, false contenders. So, not that far off, honestly. And, Svechnikov... I got some thinking to do about you, buddy. But, Carolina, I lost interest in them when I saw, like, the kind of game they were playing. And just New York was more fun and, like, let's ride with them. So I put up a poll on Insta, too, about, like, which team people were going for at this point. There's an overwhelming majority of, not that surprising, to be honest, well above, like, 60% of people are going for Edmonton at this point. Like, the Canadian team, the McDavid. Like, I think the McDavid is a big factor, and especially like for myself, I've said on the pod, I don't just go for Canadian teams because they're Canadian. I have to like the team. Didn't go for Montreal last year, and I said I was cheering against Toronto again this year. Edmonton, though, I'll get behind. Like, I like McDavid, Draisaitl. They're young. They're defensemen as well. Hyman, I'm just going for them to win. Then the second up was Colorado. They got quite a few votes as well. Then Tampa got a few, and then at that point, New York, Carolina wasn't done. So I put both up, and that got one vote. I'm assuming that was for New York, but could be wrong. So, yeah.
No surprise there. I mean...
No.
If Edmonton won, I'd be, like, over the moon. Like Canadian team, and... Like you said, we're going for the West here, so...
Yeah.
What was I okay, so back to you not cheering for Montreal. I think I already know the answer, but Toronto and Montreal face each other. You're cheering for Toronto, right?
Well, they faced each other last year, right? And I went for Montreal because I felt like Toronto, and I still feel this way, if Toronto can actually get over that hump of winning a first round, they could win it all. Like, their team is really good, especially this year. Like, the way Matthews and Marner played, they're unbelievable. Whenever they're out there, they're dominating the play. So, nothing but praise for them at this point. But, I'd go for Montreal because they're not a threat. And I even said it last year. That's a prediction I got right. Montreal wouldn't make the playoffs. Proud about that one. It's an easy call, though. And... I'd go Montreal over Toronto, even though I like Toronto's stars more, if that makes any sense. I just don't want Toronto to win the cup. That's the mentality there and the reasoning.
Because we'll never hear the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For either
Matthews, the stars of Toronto were. Oh, I had a blast watching them. Like Matthews, I love watching Matthews play. It's just just fun to watch, and he has one of the best releases, if not the best releases in the game. Like when he shoots the puck, and Morgan Riley's really fun to watch too. I like what you said about you and Zach watching Adam Fox live. Like, I went to one game this year, a Pittsburgh game against Ottawa, and watching Letang play was like kind of fun. Like, he's different from all the other defensemen on Pittsburgh, right? Like, his vision's completely different, and I totally got what you meant with Adam Fox. Like, it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, just highlights how awesome hockey is. And like, this is my first podcast in the new house I'm at, and I'm actually closer to the Sens.
Right.
Like, I'm very close to the Canadian Tire Center, so like, I should go watch more of the games live now, and I'm more incentivized to watch all these stars live.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we can segue to that. Like, when next year rolls around for the Sens, like, going into and re-listening to that pod going into the year, we were kind of right about the Sens in that, like, we wanted all their young guys to take a step forward, but expectations still weren't that they would make the playoffs, unlike our good friend Justin's prediction that the Sens would make the playoffs and that the Leafs would not make the playoffs, which is ridiculous, but that was a reverse jinx, I think.
Yeah.
So obviously Ottawa still was a bottom team this year, a little disappointing. What were your thoughts on the season that we just had, and kind of looking ahead at next year? Like, what are you hoping to see out of our core going forward?
What was disappointing for me was like seeing the same mistakes being done, and like still trouble in our own zone. Like, our defensively, basically, I was very disappointed with our play in our own zone. What I loved about this season, though, was watching guys like Batherson. Even though Batherson missed a lot of games, like watch Josh Norris, Batherson, Tkachuk. I thought they had great, like, they produced, and it was super fun watching Tkachuk. Like, when he came back, like, man, I love Tkachuk.
Yeah.
I think Shabbat very disappointed year for points, but like, he was stellar. Like, defensively, he was much better than the previous year. It was fun to watch. I just get like, it was painful some games to watch though, Eric. I'm not gonna lie. Just I don't know what it is. Just watching us run around in our own zone, and it's like I can't remember a time where we haven't been like, it's the same thing every year with the Sens, I guess. Yeah. What are your thoughts on like the Sens? Like, do they not get coached properly in our own zone? I don't know what's going on there on defense.
It's interesting. I don't really know if DJ is the issue, and now we're kind of entering a new era of the Sens as well with potential new ownership. So we'll see what kind of moves Dorion is making at the top now with different influences around. But to your point about like all the young guys, like I agree with all of those points. Like everyone took a step forward. Batherson was unbelievable until injured. Tkachuk had a great year. Shabbat, I agree, and I had him in fantasy in one of my leagues, and he could have had so many more points. He just was not getting the puck luck at all. But it doesn't even matter. He was just showing that maturity and progression in his game that you can't even worry about him. I think potentially this year they'll go off offensively. Like, you never know. But he was just playing some amazing hockey. And when he's not in the lineup, his absence is felt. He's definitely has a strong case for MVP of our team, without a doubt. And for me, someone who took potentially the biggest leap forward was a Tim Stützle at centerman, which, in my mind, like that was never an expectation that he would become a centerman for us. It was obviously talked about, but I didn't expect it to happen this quickly and for him to thrive as much as he has. Winning faceoffs, maybe he should take some clinics from John Tavares to improve in there, but that'll come with time. But his play once he shifted from the wing to the centerman was outstanding. Confidence with the puck, the plays he's making out there, I can't wait to see what this guy's going to look like in 2 to 4 years. He's going to be just entering the prime of his career and be a true superstar for us, I truly believe. So, state of the Sens going forward, I can't really predict that we'll be in a playoff spot. I'm just hoping we'll be more competitive and, like you said, not making those same mistakes and losing games the same way that we have for the last few years, and that we have a lead going into the third and then we somehow shoot ourselves in the foot or don't know how to defend well enough. And is that a coaching issue? That's a good question. I'll throw it to you. Do you think it is? Like, now there are a lot of actually good coaches available. Like Barry Trotz just got canned. Peter DeBoer. I want to say there are a few others as well available. So do you make that move? What do you think, Matt?
I think mostly it is a coaching issue. We need a better system. thing is, I'm not like super knowledgeable. Like, I don't know if I can't just. How much is the players and how much is the coach's fault? I'm not sure. It's been an issue. Like, honestly, every time we change coaches, it doesn't get fixed. So maybe it has nothing to do with coaches, and it's just, I don't know. But Stützle, Eric, thanks for reminding me. He flourished this year, and he's like our own little Barzal out there. You know, like I liken him to him because they have like the same, I guess, size. Our power play. I loved watching our power play this year because of this. Like, it's we enter the zone, we keep the puck right away. It's like, I didn't see that in the past. It was it's perfect. It's awesome. We actually have like 5 great players out there. Batherson though. Batherson's my favorite now, honestly. Like Tkachuk too, but Batherson, he's so skilled. Love it. It reminds me of like a dominant Spezza when he started with the Sens. Just like the size, the same body shape again, like
same number as well.
Yes, it's just beautiful to watch. I enjoyed watching the Sens a lot more this year than the previous like 3 years. So that's good, right? You know,
it's a good sign.
Right, it is. So I think next year it's going to be even more exciting to watch because you get to see all these young talents flourish again. And watching Chabot's always fun. I just don't don't bring in old veterans again on defense, you know, like Josh Brown and people like that. I don't know. Like, I hate seeing that. And a surprise of the year, though, Austin Watson. I actually, he grew a lot in my books. He's a quality grinder. What do you think of Austin Watson?
I agree. For where he slots in our lineup as well, we need a guy like him for good leadership as well, and he can actually play. He was potting quite a few goals. I think he ended the year with more goals than Brendan Gallagher. So at way less than half his cap hit, we'll take that all day. And you'd see he'd be getting into a fight every second game, just fire the boys up. So I really like what he brings to the table as well. There's talks of him potentially being on our 4th line to start next year with Parker Kelly, who's been another surprise for me. Like, I knew of him, but did not think he'd be making our team this early. Love what he brings to the table, like that physicality, the energy is like kind of a new Pajot, if you will. I don't know if he'll end up being as skilled as Pajot was in his heyday with Ottawa, but that's another good guy that I like with Austin Watson. And then Mark Kastelik also emerged on the scene at the end of the year. Big boy, Western Hockey League lad, physical. Like, that's the perfect 4th line that I hope Ottawa can maintain going into next year. And I mean, I like. There's something else that you said that I wanted to comment on, forgetting, but
Stützle, the power play.
Yes, the power play. What a treat to watch. That was the best power play I've seen out of Ottawa in the last potentially decade, or that I can clearly remember. Batherson, when he was out, his presence was missed as well, especially for zone entry, establishing puck possession on the power play. He just carves his way through the neutral and offensive zone, uses his big frame, finds some time and space for himself, and just drops it back, and then we get set up. The whole league is going to start respecting Josh Norris's shot as they do Ovechkin's soon enough, in that, when it goes to JN9, it's automatic, short side rip. End of the year with 35 goals, I want to say. Unbelievable year. I really hope we can lock him in long term for a 7 to 8 year deal at a $7 or plus million cap hit. I'm extremely optimistic with this group going forward. And to compare Batherson to Spezza, I feel like I've seen people are saying Batherson, Norris, Tkachuk is the new Spezza, Heatley, Alfredson line. In that Batherson, Spezza, Heatley is Norris, and Tkachuk is Alfie. And I absolutely love that comparison. I think that's the line that's going to take us to the promised land. And then Stützle on your second line with maybe Formanton's also been extremely impressive for me. Took another step forward. Love what he can do offensively. There's more to the tip of the iceberg that we've seen. And then we just need someone else on that right wing flank. Rumors of Claude Giroux. If we can get him at a not too high cap hit, I'd be all on board for that. Giroux is unreal for Florida after the trade deadline, but I think I've heard comments of him saying that he has no interest of leaving Florida, so we'll see what happens there. But Ottawa does need to make a move and bring in someone else, I think.
So you're saying we have a new pizza line with Kachuk, Matheson,
Yep.
Norris.
100% new pizza line. Nice.
The deluxe pizza line. And also Formington and Brown on the PK was like a treat to watch this year.
Yes.
Too. Formington just blows by everybody. He's probably as fast as McDavid without the puck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with the puck, McDavid's the quickest.
Exactly. Because his hands can keep up.
Yeah. Formington would have 50 goals if he was like the amount of chances he has is unreal.
Hey,
but you can say,
he could be the next Chris Kreider. You never know. Similar style, like similar wheels as well. And Kreider had never scored 30 goals before this year, so this is really out of the blue that he exploded for 51 rips. I'm not saying Formington should be expected to do that, but you really never know in this day and age.
I watched a lot of highlights. Like Kreider's, a lot of his goals, the rebounds and the deviations and tips and like body in front of the net. He got a lot of goals like that, and like that's a kudos to him. And he's such a strong player, like physically strong. Famous video of him jumping out of the pool, just like jumping, unreal.
That's leg goals right there, and just being able to hop out of the pool like that's unbelievable.
He's a force out there.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited for the Sens, Eric, and I think I'm gonna enjoy even more. I'm gonna enjoy watching it even more next year. So, yeah.
I think so as well. Yeah, I mean, we have also like the 7th overall pick, and then there's been talks about trading that pick for immediate help. Do you have any thoughts on that, or would you prefer that we add on another top prospect and see if they fit into our team's plan down the road?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind trading that pick for a player, but a player that's still young. Like, I don't want someone that's only gonna last 2-3. Like, yeah, I'd like to see Dorion trade for a player that's gonna help us now. Actually, absolutely, a player that's not doing super well in the team's environment, but if they get a fresh start, they could flourish and like. I feel like we should take a chance like that on a player that hasn't proven himself yet, but could. Like, something that Davion's, like, expert scouting skills sees that the other team hasn't.
Yeah.
Because the round, like, you're playing the draft is a roulette of, like, could be great or it could be not. How many times do we go back and be like, that player got picked over this player? Like, crazy.
Yeah.
So.
CC over Vasilevsky. But we don't need to dwell on that. But that happens literally every single year, every round. I'm just making that one quick because it's like I read an article about that recently there. But there are always those players that go a little later and they end up being better than 10 players that picked before them. So I agree. If we can get that right player for the 7th overall pick, I'd be okay if we trade it. A big name that people want Ottawa to go after is Kevin Fiala out of Minnesota, who, for some reason, I'm kind of skeptical about in that he's a great player. He put up like 80-some points this year, I think 82 points. Unbelievable year. But there's some things about him that I worry about in terms of inconsistency and perhaps character, which I believe are important criteria in Pierre Dorion's checklists. So we'll see. He could be that would be a player that fits the bill of is still young but also a little older. He's born in 96, so he's about 26 years old, and would be an injection of skill in the lineup.
I'm just scared that Fiala will be like the whole Evgeny Dadonov situation where Fiala's only good because like, who does Fiala play with with Minnesota, right?
Yeah, he
got Kaprizov.
He wasn't with Kaprizov on his line. He was on the second line, actually. Maybe sometimes they did get ice time together, but for the most part, he was separated from him.
Okay.
So he did get his points the honorable way, not riding shotgun to one of the better younger stars in the league in Kaprizov. But another name that's been floated out, which I really hope Ottawa doesn't do this trade, especially for the 7th overall pick, would be Dylan Strome, who... He's a player that would be exactly that. Has shown signs of brilliance in Chicago, but the last few years has really fallen off. And he's still young. He's 25. But at that price, 7th overall, I would not want us to take that. That's a bigger risk, in my opinion, than having that 7 overall pick pan out to be an impact player. You know what I mean? I could see Strome not working out in Ottawa, whereas the 7th overall hits for Chicago. So it's tough to say. I'm not a pro with this. I'm just speculating, but interesting to see what happens anyways.
Might be more rewarding to play the long game. But Kaprizov, like, that was a treat to watch this year, all his highlight reel goals, and he exploded this year. I mean, you reaped all the benefits in the fantasy pool.
Absolutely.
But that's going to be an exciting player to watch next year. And like he easily finished. I mean, he finished in the top 10 in points, I think. Or
I think 7th overall. He had 100 and some points.
He could easily finish in the top. I could see him winning. Well, not with McDavid, but like I can see him in the top 5. I mean, he already almost cracked it this year. So
he might have been top 5, honestly.
Yeah. Very fun player to watch.
And he killed it in the playoffs as well for Minnesota. And the rest of their team, Fiala, didn't really show up in Minnesota for the playoffs against St. Louis. So that's another worry I have around Fiala. But who knows? He could be the perfect player for us. What do I know? But, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So are you going for, just like for the remaining 4 teams, to bring it back to that? We've given a good rundown on Ottawa, I think. You think Tampa, you're going for Colorado, though? That's who you're going for ultimately, or is it Edmonton?
I'm going for Colorado. My heart wants Colorado. Like, I want Colorado to win. I think Tampa Bay, though, is going to defeat them. I love the Colorado team, not just like McKinnon. I like Landeskog and Cale Makar, which he's not very strong defensively, so like that's going to be like, I like the Nurse. I find is a better player than Makar all around in terms of like he'll help Edmonton more than like Nurse is solid. No, I like Kadri's playing well too. I don't like Kadri, but like I don't know, it's fun to see him be like he's not as he's toned down his he kept his temper in check basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the Colorado team. I think I've always liked Colorado from a kid, like watching Joe Sakic win all his cups, and my dad was a huge Colorado fan. I have a soft spot for Colorado. Great uniform, great logo. Like I just like their whole team.
Great name too, Avalanche.
Great name, yeah. Like
great.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm going for Edmonton overall, but if Colorado wins, I'm going for them in the finals. I agree with you on Kadri, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about as well. Like everything he went through in that round against St. Louis, the whole Binnington injury situation, I think, was blown way out of proportion. I don't think it was intentional, honestly. Obviously, you look at Kadri's track record, he's done very questionable acts in the past, like blatant headshots, dirty hits. I think he's cleaned his act up, like you said as well. And he kind of got pushed into Binnington, chasing that loose puck to bang in the rebound. I think all the messages that he received on Instagram, I don't know if you saw any of this, Matt, but there were a bunch of messages that were sent to his wife, to him, like death threats, racist messaging. That has no place in, obviously, hockey, but just in life in general. And like, you're an absolute loser if you're sending a player messages like this, their family messages like this. Like, have some friggin' self-respect. And what do you think putting that kind of energy out in the world is accomplishing? I know I'm like now shitting on those people, which is negative energy, but warranted. They deserve it. And yeah, I mean, I think honestly those people, and a lot of them, this happened to them because their names were in the messages. Kadri's wife took screenshots, posted them on social media, and then people found these people online and forwarded these messages to their bosses and to associations they're part of, and they got cut from hockey teams. I don't know if any of them lost their jobs, but honestly, if you see these messages, 100% warranted to lose your job over sending idiotic messages to someone over a hockey game and thinking there'll be no repercussions. So that's kind of my piece on that. Was so happy for Kadri. Never thought I'd say this in my life. To see him score a hat trick in St. Louis and get the last laugh. Lost a lot of respect for St. Louis to begin. And David Perron specifically, he was super dirty in that series post-injury to Binnington. I understand like he wants to step up for his goalie, but really lost respect for him. And St. Louis. I know that those fans don't represent the whole fan base, but tough look for them. Like, it's friggin' hockey. Like, relax. You know what I mean?
I don't need to add anything more. You said it so beautifully. Like, and my dad even told me, like, St. Louis, did the team even apologize for what happened? I don't even think so.
They hardly acknowledged it.
Exactly, and that's like the biggest takeaway there. Like, and Perron, like, I've always thought he was a little psycho. That guy, like, he's got that wild card factor. Like, he loses his temper, but like so did Kadri in the past. That was an exciting. That was a fun series to watch. Actually, Colorado, St. Louis, with all like the behind the scenes stuff, and then like the talent on the ice. Yeah. So yeah, Colorado and Tampa Bay, and it's like offense versus defense. But I mean, players like Tampa has so many like unsung. Yeah, they have their stars, Stamkos and Kucherov, because I don't think Point's not coming back from that hamstring. I think
that was rough to watch.
Yeah, so like all the unsung heroes for like the Killorns, Nick Pauls, like Sorelli, like they're fun and Sergei, like Sergachev too is playing like a boss, and McDonough is. What I love about McDonough is like just all the hits he's dishing out. Like I love it. Puck stop, all the block shots too. Yeah. Hedman, effortless. Hedman is like, I find he looks like Brad Pitt a little, so I was like, he's like Achilles out there, no weakness, just like murking guys on the battlefield like in Troy,
100%.
Right?
Does look like him.
Cliff Booth out there, I don't know. I always thought that, like, he looks like Brad Pitt, so it's funny.
Yeah. No, it's a great reference to. And another guy, too, Tampa has, which is a player that these guys are rare breeds in the NHL. I wish Ottawa could find someone like this. It would be Eric Cernak. Unbelievable shutdown physical defenseman, right-hand shot. And he actually comes in clutch with random snipes out of nowhere, too. Like, this guy can play. And he was a guy that Tampa traded Ben Bishop to LA for Cernak. It was straight up trade. And at the time, Bishop was still in the prime of his career. And I remember specifically looking at this trade like, who the hell is Eric Cernak and why are they not getting way more than this for Ben Bishop? I was just thinking like first round pick, top prospect. Well, it turns out they got that and then some in Eric Cernak because a first round pick could only dream of becoming as good as Cernak. Unsung hero, in my opinion, at its greatest. And that's the kind of guy that I think Ottawa could, or any team really, could use in a right-hand shot, big like that, 6'4", 220, shut down D, physical. Like those guys don't grow on trees, and he's a big part of Tampa's success as well.
Well said. I like watching him play too, and right there, those four guys on defense, right?
Yep. Doesn't even matter. And even like Bogosian's playing good hockey for them too. I thought he had nothing left in the tank, but he's doing his thing. Corey Perry as well. Like Tampa is just built to win. They know what it takes to. I
chirped Perry before the playoffs. Like I'm like, he's like I saw him with Montreal the last time, but like this time I'm like, no, he's actually done. No, he's actually he rises to the big moments. Perry, he finds the gas in the tank. Props to Perry. I never liked him. Obviously going back to the Ottawa Ducks days, but kudos to him. He's still playing great. No, he knows his role perfectly. That's Corey Perry's strength. He knows what he has to do out there. He's not gonna like cause you any harm. Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. It's a great time to be a hockey fan, and I don't know. I got this huge projector now in front of me. I'm gonna watch the game on tonight, and I'm super spoiled right now watching sports every night, and it's going to be great. Oh,
it's the best time, especially for you. Yeah. You're in the MLB season as well. I'm not.
True. Yeah.
And if anyone out here is into the NBA finals starting soon, I won't be watching, but if you are, good for you. It's just a good time.
Is it Miami Golden State?
No, Boston Golden State.
Boston Golden State. Sorry, yeah. I haven't been following, but I know that there was the Boston-Miami series was exciting, right?
Yeah, it went to 7, but apparently every game was a blowout one way or another, so that's kind of disappointing to see. You want closer games. we'll see what Golden State. And it's funny how Golden State's a team I always rooted. Not that I'm a basketball guy at all here, but I never really cheered for Golden State because it seemed like it was automatic that they'd be in the finals and then would win. They had that crazy run of just always being in the finals and winning. And Steph Curry kind of changed the game as far as shooters are concerned now. And now they were irrelevant for the last few years. I think injuries was a factor as well. And now they're back, and everyone's kind of cheering for them now. It's their return from their redemption story, I guess. So it's just cool to see. And I don't really know Boston's players that well. So if Golden State does win again, I'm like, hey, good for them. Another ring added to the legacy, similarly to a Tampa Bay. Wouldn't be wins in a row for Golden State, but still cool to see.
Yeah. It's one of the best times of year for sports, right? Two playoffs and 2 leagues and the start of baseball for me. So, yeah. Hence why when we do our random recommendations, which might be like now if you want, but that's why it's going to be very short for me because I've been watching sports all the time.
Do you want me to kick us off then?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I have a couple things, but kick us off, please. Yeah.
So I'll start off with probably the biggest one, which was I had heard from a few people that the latest Top Gun movie was pretty solid. Based on the trailers, I had zero intention of going to see this movie. Like, had never seen the original, still haven't seen it. Just really didn't do it for me. There'd been trailers for it for so long too. I want to say the last 2 years we've been seeing Top Gun Maverick. Like, I couldn't care less. Heard from some reputable sources that it's solid. I'm like, all right, I'll go check it out. So Andy and I went to see it this past weekend in theaters, obviously. Both absolutely loved it. It was really a great movie that merits to be seen on the big screen. Definitely the one I've seen all year that was the best in theater experience. Based on, and when I say special effects, apparently, I've watched behind the scenes footage. A lot of this footage was filmed in the F-18 and F-14 fighter jets that the actual Top Gun pilots fly in. So the actors were all trained for 3 months how to navigate in the plane. They were with pilots in there, of course. They weren't flying the planes at all times there, but they still knew what was up, and gained a lot of respect for all the actors involved. The action was unreal. Just such a fun movie. Truly a blockbuster summer movie. And now I was actually watching a review for it on another podcast earlier, and one of the guys said that now the risk here is that a lot of people are hyping the movie up, so you have to go into the theater not with these crazy expectations that'll blow you away. But I have a hard time believing anyone watching that movie in theaters comes out of there disappointed, really. Even if you're hearing from everyone like, oh, it's unbelievable. And if it doesn't hit that mark for you, you'll still have a good time. So I strongly recommend going to see it in theaters. Have you seen it, Matt?
I have not, and I'm going to go see it because I've been hearing nothing but praise, Eric. And from people that aren't even Tom Cruise or Top Gun fans, I just hear it's like the blockbuster of the summer. Like, it's highly entertaining. I know my parents are going to go see it like tomorrow or something in the coming days, and I'm going to be super jealous because I know they're going to love it. Like, that's the thing. I already know I'm going to like this movie. I like the original. I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, and I hear the movie was well done. So that's a recipe for success in my books. Like, for the experience in the theater, like the sound, Eric, like, that's why you have to see it in the theater, right? Because you're watching jets fly. So, like, what better place than the biggest screen possible and the sound? Or, like, was it super loud and, like, you felt like you were there, like, kind of Dunkirk style? You know, when Tom Hardy's flying his plane in Dunkirk? Like, was it like that?
Sure, I haven't seen Dunkirk, but I'm sure it's similar. But, no, the sound is definitely a huge factor, and it's just, the footage is unreal. Like, you'll see when the planes are flying and soaring in the sky. It's just so cool to see on that big screen. Like, I know you have a projector, but it's not as big as in the theater. And I guess the sound would probably be the biggest factor. And there are a lot of wow moments that it gets amplified when it's on that big of a screen, right? And in a room full of people who are all there for that purpose of, it's a great blockbuster action movie. It was a good vibes in the theater. Only have one minor complaint about the movie, but I don't really want to say it until you see it. Overall, like, really enjoyed it.
How was Miles Teller in the movie?
I'm becoming more and more a fan of him the more I see him in stuff, and I haven't even seen him in that many movies. Obviously, Whiplash is the one I've seen the most of his. That's what made me a fan of him. He was great in this movie. The supporting cast was fantastic. John Hamm is killer in this as well. Ed Harris. There's a few other actors I had never seen anything, and they're all great. Like, just an overall great movie. Definitely recommend. And I'm saying in theaters is a must for this. That sound hits different. So
one of the, I was like I was talking about my projector and watching sports, but one of the downfalls of me moving out is I'm a lot further away from movie theaters now, but I'm still gonna make the trek to my church and go see movies.
Do it.
I'll get into the movie I watched, which I don't know if it's still in theaters anymore. Am I saying that? I totally did not go see it at the theater, but I watched The Northman.
Oh, nice.
And I will be buying this movie because I loved it so much. Okay. So don't hate me for watching it on the internet. But Northman is directed by Robert Eggers, who directed 2 movies that I love, The Witch and The Lighthouse. So this third movie, The Northman, he's three for 3 for me. Okay. This is a Viking period piece movie, a revenge movie. That's all I'll say about the story. Alexander Skarsgård stars in the movie as our main character, and you got Anya Taylor-Joy as the female lead, and she is excellent in this movie. My love for her grows every time I watch a new movie with her. She's just awesome, and she was in The Witch, Robert Eggers' first movie, and she was great in that. She's even better in this movie. Alexander Skarsgård is totally believable as this lead character. He's jacked, he fights like a badass. He has the perfect look of a Viking. Probably because he's Viking ancestry way down the line, Swedish ancestry.
Right.
Very gory, Eric. Very violent movie. This is how I describe the action scenes. They're like Battle of the Bastards, Game of Thrones type of action.
Nice.
Long shots, no cutaways, just one thing. In Battle of the Bastards, just one opponent to the next, just killing. That's how the action's done in this movie. Not a lot of cuts, just straight up gore, and they're unflinching. Very like I said, a revenge tale. You know what you're gonna get. Really recommend The Northman. Yeah, especially if you're a fan of Vikings or any of those shows on Netflix during that period. Recommend the movie a lot. So that's The Northman. You've heard of it, Eric?
Yeah, no, I really wanted to see it. I don't know if I just looked it up. It's not at Landmark anymore. It is still playing in Scotiabank Theatre. It looks like only late slots, so 10:15. It's a little late for me. It's a long movie. I definitely do want to see it. I'll try to see if I can find a slot before it leaves the theater. But eventually, I'm definitely going to watch this movie. It piqued my interest initially just based on that setting. I'm a big fan of Viking lore, and I haven't seen that much of it personally, so and it was getting good reviews. So definitely on my radar, will watch at some point for sure. Glad to hear you liked it though.
Yeah, this one doesn't need a theater, but
okay,
it's gonna pop up on streaming very soon. So
hopefully
maybe on Crave or something.
Yeah, movies are going on Crave so quickly now. The new Crimes of The Secrets of Dumbledore is already on Crave.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I saw the announcement for that.
So I'll be checking it out at some point, legally, of course.
I know, I feel bad, but geez, I can't help it, Eric.
That's all good.
I will buy this movie though, so I'm gonna support the movie anyway. But
yes.
I shouldn't be advertising all this on the airs,
It's all. I'll snip this whole part out.
Nah, it's okay.
So that's the only movie I've watched recently because you have been just knee deep into the sports. I've started up a show recently that is also a cult classic, just huge for this genre. And seeing as I have Crave, might as well capitalize on this library that HBO has. In that I started watching the iconic show The Sopranos last week. Absolutely loving it. Such a good show. Obviously, it's hailed as one of the best shows of all time, and it lives up to the hype. It's a little, maybe slower than I was expecting, but I don't mind whatsoever. I just like hanging out with these characters. now my mentality is switched. Like I'm in the mob now. Like, I'm part of the family. I'm a capo, and obviously not, but I'm super into it. Tony Soprano is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters of all time. I just find him so cool, and I love all of his lines the dialogue is so sharp. I find it hilarious. Another little thing I find really funny is that they make all these references to like Godfather and Goodfellas and Casino, and then you have Lorraine Bracco, who's a very important character who plays Karen in Goodfellas. So it's like a very meta reference that's happening in this world that she's a part of those movies. So it's just kind of funny. Love like Eddie Falco, who plays Carmela Soprano, so Tony Soprano's wife. She's fantastic. One of my favorite so far, anyways, wife characters I've seen in a show. She really flips the script on how we've seen some other wives. Like I'll make a comparable to Breaking Bad. Skylar is extremely annoying and universally hated, whereas I feel like of what I've seen of Carmela Soprano, she's a badass and doesn't take or she kind of anyways. It's just an interesting dynamic, but I'm a huge fan of her character right now, and I'm also loving Lorraine Bracco, Jennifer Nelfi, her character as well. A lot of good intrigue in there. I'm excited to see where it goes. Love me some mafia content, and I've never seen a show. Yeah, Boardwalk Empire, I guess, would be the closest thing I've ever seen as far as like a mafia show is concerned. But I'm really enjoying this right now. So if you have Crave, strong recommend for The Sopranos.
It's funny, Eric. I've been watching a lot of like TikTok and YouTube shorts like in the last month or so, just like on like when there's a commercial during the hockey game or whatever. But a lot of Soprano clips pop up for me because I guess that's like my search history or whatever. But like it's making me want to rewatch The Sopranos because I'm crying of laughter during some of these scenes. Like Paulie always cracks me up.
Paulie's gold.
Christopher too. Christopher was one of my favorite characters, along with Tony. But like I want to rewatch The Sopranos. So when you brought it up, I'm like, man, it's due for a rewatch. The dialogue is like the strength of the show. The dialogue and characters. Yeah, it's a gangster show. You know where some of the stuff is heading, but like story-wise. But Eric, wait till all the amazing guest actors like get on there. Like Steve Buscemi's in there down the road. Like he's great, and among others. Like, are you like season 1, season 2 right now?
So I just finished up season 1. I just started season 2 the other day. And I knew about Buscemi, but don't tell me any other guest actor. I want to just see them pop up and to see, like, oh yeah, this girl's in the show. So it's been fun to watch, and I know virtually nothing about the show, so it's I'm going in kind of blind and just seeing where it takes me. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, like the show's really funny, but then you'll have those intense, like emotional scenes, like, oh, it's serious now. Like all these guys are. Like, I don't want to... We're going to get into specifics once you're done the whole show, but, like, the arc some of these characters go through, Eric, it's truly amazing. Like, Sopranos influence so many other shows, and you see it. You'll see it, what I mean. James Gandolfini, like, he's a legend, in my opinion, just because, like, his portrayal of Tony is legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you like it. I bet wasn't your dad isn't your dad a huge Sopranos fan?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him about the show yet, but I'm looking forward to it and just hearing what he thought about the show. But I definitely know for a fact he was a big Sopranos guy as well. So my mom's seen it as well, and excited to talk to them about it when I start to see more, anyways. There, but yeah. My dad's big in like mafia stuff. Like he loves those movies as well. So.
Yeah, okay. In fear of turning this into a Sopranos cast, I'll just we'll move on to my next thing, which I don't. You know what the streaming site Tubi is? Yep. You talked about it before. Yeah, like for old movies, that's my go-to now, and I rewatched 12 Angry Men, but not the version that I rewatched the TV movie they made in '97 or '96, which is literally the same movie as the black and white, but with completely different actors. So it kind of like that threw me for that's the reason to watch it, just to see the different performances. And you know what, Eric, it's amazing. And if you feel like rewatching 12 Angry Men, watch the '96 version. You got a lot of actors that you'd recognize. Well, I mean, there's a lot of older actors like Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott, but like there's also these new actors. Like I don't remember. You'll recognize them. They're not like household names, but like I know you'd recognize them. But I mean, there's 3 African American actors in there, and already there, that's a different twist, right? It's not all these 12 old white dudes. It's like they change things, so it's good, and it's intense too. So, 12 Angry Men on Tubi, barely any commercials during the movie, so it's perfect. So I watched those 2 movies. That's it for my movies. I know I've been giving updates on the book I'm reading, *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*. I'm almost done the book. It's amazing. Like, I know I said that last time. I was like halfway. The more I'm reading, Eric, it's like it's progressing to like closer to where we are now, and it's very interesting. I'm going to drive it over to you when I'm done.
Okay, right on. Thank you.
Because I know you want to read it too, and like I've just been really slow, but you know, I've been moving this last few months, so good. So those 2 movies and *Sapiens*, like I go buy that book, folks.
Okay.
It's really interesting. I even like take pictures of some of the pages so I can remember the information down the road. Just the explanation on things that I know I'm going to use down the road. Really cool. Really good book. Have you been reading anything new, Eric?
No, actually, since we did our last pod, I don't think I've read much at all, honestly. I've been just in sports, doing stuff, been a little busier, so I haven't really put time aside to read. I'll get into it again at some point, but now it's so tough with just summer really hitting its stride and starting to pick up. So I do want to read. It is fun, and I'll make some time for it, but probably won't be crushing as many books as I was in the winter and early spring months. But anyways, I still want to make some time for it because it is important, and I do enjoy reading. So we'll get to it soon enough. I've similarly with like music, I haven't been listening to that much new music. I still keep up though with the prominent albums that are released. I do want to recommend one. Last time I preemptively recommended the Harry Styles album. Definitely enjoying that one, so check that out if you haven't listened to it. Harry's House, good stuff. The one I'm recommending is called Killing Nothing by Boldy James and Real Badman. So pretty much the last few years I've had a Boldy James album on my top 10 list. This one, we'll see if it ends up there at the end of the year, but I'm really enjoying it. Boldy just does his thing. He's super consistent. He drops at least 1 to 2 albums per year, and they're always fire. And this one is no exception. The gritty street tales that he recalls on a somewhat monotone delivery just works for him. Has a very unique flow, and a lot of bangers on here. A lot of catchier choruses I found on this album as well. Love the beats. Some good features as well. Stove God Cooks, Rome Streets in there. Expecting big things from their debut albums. So I would recommend that album, Killing Nothing, Boldy James, Real Badman. It's good stuff.
I endorse that. I really liked it. I listened to it again on the way to work today. So
nice. Yeah,
I liked it. But his delivery is so unique. Like you said, monotone. It's just very like consistent. But well, okay, what did you think of Kendrick Lamar's new album?
Yeah, so I listened to it twice in full now. I think that's a good album. It's a solid album, but I think it'll need multiple listens for me to give a full opinion on. But it's the first one that he's released that I haven't instantly loved. You know what I mean? Good Kid, Mad City. I still remember listening to it for the first time. Loved it right away. To Pimp a Butterfly, I was into it immediately. As soon as the beat dropped on Wesley's Theory, I was like, okay, we're in for a good one here. And that's an amazing album. Damn, that one grew on me with time, but I still really liked it the first time. This one, it plays out really differently. It's more like a memoir, autobiography.
Yeah.
Not many catchy songs either. Not that you necessarily need that for a great album, but it kind of helps. It helps have some catchy songs in there.
Well said.
I don't like. For me right now, I have my number one favorite album of the year. It's not this, and this album won't end up number one. That's a guarantee. It might grow. It might end up on my list of favorite albums if I listen to it multiple times and start peeling layers and really appreciating its greatness. But it's not something that I rush to listen to. I've only listened to it twice in the few weeks it's been out. I've listened to the Boldy James album at least 4 times now. So it's not one I run to. I'm definitely going to give it more spins, but not my favorite of his. Definitely not. How about you?
I have to re-listen. I've listened to it more times than you. I have long rides to work, so but like I find it very emotional and like storytelling album, which isn't a bad thing, but like that's not what I was expecting, which I shouldn't like let that influence my taste or anything, but like song, like the We Cry Together song.
Yep.
Like that's not a song. That's like that in my head. I can picture everything. I haven't watched the music video, but when I listen to that song, I'm like, this is like a scene from a movie I'm watching, and I can play it all in my head. So is that actually a good thing that this song's invoking these feelings in me of like brutal like fights, like scenes from a marriage or a Marriage Story?
Yeah. Those
are two intense like relationship movies. Like, is that what I wanted from a Kendrick Lamar album? I don't think that's what I wanted, Eric. That's why I find this is a very intense, and I guess he doesn't put out albums. He doesn't put out a lot of albums, and he took his time. Like, this is what he crafted and gave us, so we should accept it. And I will be more patient with it and give it more. And I enjoyed a lot of the songs I enjoyed, but I found it was very like a very taxing album to listen to. Like, it was it was hard to like finish it. I was like, oh my god, I need to listen to something more cheerful or or like bangers. I don't know.
Yeah.
What you said was perfect, actually. So, and our previous guest Brandon told me too. He's gotta let some time go by and keep re-listening to it, because him too, he was unsure. I think he thinks it's gonna be like not a classic, but he thinks he's gonna really like it, but it's gonna take time and it has to marinate more in his brain. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the case for me too.
And I feel like we've kind of talked about this already, but aren't the greatest movies or greatest albums the ones that truly need multiple viewings or listens to appreciate their greatness and themes and all of those fun things you want to see when you listen to music? But I just don't see this being my favorite. Like I said, it might end up being in the list, but I'm sure, just based on what you said as well, that you wouldn't have this as your favorite as of right now, right?
No.
And that We Cry Together song is brutal. I enjoy the song though. I find it really interesting and kind of funny at times, but it's a taxing listen, just that one song. And he addresses a lot of important themes, like Auntie's Diaries. That's a heavy song. I've only listened to I've listened to it twice or so. But I remember the first time being, oh man, like this is really you don't hear this in rap songs normally. So I commend him and respect him for what he did. But again, I'll just repeat myself and say it's not an album I'm in a hurry to listen to all the time. Whereas I was more wanting to listen to his older albums when they were fresh, way more than this one.
I still put on his other 3 albums once in a while for the car ride. It's just epic. Yeah. So I just wanted to know your thoughts, because I know it's not a recommendation, but it's like I was too curious. I could have asked you off air, but like I had to.
No, we can loop that. Anything goes in random recommendations. Honestly, it's no rules out here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I watched one other movie, but it's like it's Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, nice. Perfect movie. Nothing else needs to be said. Johnny Depp's amazing in the movie.
Agreed. I actually should spin that soon. It's been a while since I watched that movie. Actually, what are your thoughts on, apparently they're going to remake another Pirates of the Caribbean movie with Margot Robbie. That's in the works, potentially. Do you like that idea?
Ooh, I do like that idea.
I love that idea.
Because the last 2 were not so hot.
And this would make it hotter. So I feel like that's an avenue they should explore.
Yeah, most definitely. But you'll be surprised if you rewatch part 1 how many lines you remember. Like every line feels like a classic quotable line, and isn't that the mark of a masterpiece? Like you know each line coming up that he's gonna say. It's just perfect movie. It's almost 20 years old now and flawless.
I had one other thing written down in my notes that this is super random. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they're making a Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. Have you heard of this, Matt?
Yeah, I did.
That's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go see this movie. I don't know in theaters or not, but I'm very interested to see what they do with this. Really flipping that tale of Christopher Robin is now off to college and can't provide for Piglet and Winnie the Pooh, so they go on a killing spree. Who came up with this? Give him a raise, because that's straight genius.
Oh, I gotta find out, yeah. Honestly, you know more than me about this movie, but like, I bet you it's somebody like that's in like knows the horror genre, and trying to find it on my phone here.
Eeyore is
Blood
gonna
and
be
Honey.
the
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah, blood. What a name too. I feel like Eeyore is gonna be the moral compass that gets capped probably at the halfway mark. Anyways, we'll see what happens. But
Oh, I don't know who this director is, so it's a new voice in horror then. Wow. Horror, in the last 10 years, horror movies, this is going to be a future topic for an episode, I think, but like horror movies have been, this is like the second golden age of horror films right now, which people don't realize it.
Yeah,
because they're not going to the theater.
We could definitely do another horror one. Yeah, I mean, that's all I had to recommend, honestly, at this point in time.
Yeah, me too. Just summer and the sports are flowing excessively on TV, so.
Let's go Edmonton tonight, get it done. And yeah, it's kind of fun that we did it this way, that both series haven't started. And then by the time this drops, both teams will have played 3 games each, so we could be completely wrong or right on the money. So I'm interested to see how it plays out by the time this drops. And we can maybe comment on it in our next random recommendations, how everything went out. We'll see. And yeah, I mean, that's all I had. Matt, any final notes for the people?
Just thanks everybody for listening. Enjoy the awesome playoffs that are about to happen, the Final Four, and stay safe. And I hope hope everyone's enjoying summer so far.
Agreed. So yeah, thanks a lot everybody for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to stay safe. Love you all, and yeah, peace.